Hi, everyone. This is For the Love of Comics. And in today's episode, we're going to be taking a quick look and talking a little bit about a special edition of The Sandman, the classic comic written by Neil Gaiman and illustrated by a bevy of artists. There have been a number of different editions of this comic series. It was originally published in 75 single issues, which were then collected into 10 volumes. Apart from the singles and the trade paperbacks and hardcovers, we have anniversary editions, deluxe editions, slipcased editions, and perhaps the most hallowed of them all, the Absolute Edition, the oversized, remastered, recolored, chock full of extras, slipcased hardcover editions. So, with all these editions out there, what separates the Annotated Sandman from the bunch? Is this a worthwhile purchase? Is this an essential purchase? And for whom? These are some of the questions that I quickly want to talk about. I have a maybe interesting opinion on these editions, but I'll save that as we go through what this is. The Annotated Sandman is a hardcover collection of the entire original 75 issues, much like the Absolute editions, which collected all 75 issues into 4 oversized volumes. These are the square format hardcover volumes about the size of an LP with dust jacketed covers by Dave McKean. This is the cover of Volume 1, collecting issues 1 through 20. This is Volume 2, collecting issues 21 through 39. Volume 3 collects issues 40 through 56. And Volume 4 completes the original series with numbers 57 through 75. So these 4 volumes contain every single issue of the original series, but none of the spin offs or sequels that followed. So that's already one thing of interest, a hardcover, large format collection of the entire series in 4 volumes, something that would automatically be of interest to a Sandman fan or someone looking to collect the entire thing in a less than usual format. And that unusual format starts right at the beginning with this square format, something that is much larger than the trade paperbacks, but not quite as large as the Absolute editions. These are handsome hardcover volumes with the elegance of their covers matched by the clean and elegant interior cover design. The covers are thick board, the end pages are thick and creamy, and while not as thick as the end pages, the regular paper is also of high quality, although not very thick. It is not transparent. With heavy blacks like this, thinner paper would cause a bleed over to the other side. Nothing like that exists over here. And of course, you can now notice that another unusual thing about this edition is that it is in black and white. Every single issue in these annotated editions has been reproduced without its colors, whether it be the original colors or the recoloring of the Absolute edition, which is what is common everywhere now. Whichever colors you prefer or don't prefer, they're not here. This is a purely black and white edition, which is what I think gives it another level of unusualness. I personally love black and white editions of comics, not just black and white comics, but also black and white editions of color comics. I've talked about Watchmen Noir and the INCAL in black and white, for example, on this channel. And just like artist editions and gallery editions, looking at black and white renditions of comics that I may be more familiar with in color gives me at least a sort of deeper understanding of art and what art is doing, and also what colors do and how they work together. Especially when it comes to works I'm very familiar with, I'm able to make that comparison without even having the color edition in front of me. I can see how different or not this might look compared to the story that I do know. And that's another fantastic reason to own these editions, to have a black and white edition like the Noir editions, like those special editions that publishers sometimes put out of their best and most famous works. This is the only way I have seen to have the entire series in black and white. Many people might overlook that this is black and white, order it and find that it's black and white and be disappointed. But I also think the opposite is possible. Many people might be thinking this is just another edition of the Sandman with annotations, and they don't really care about the annotations, so there's no need for them to have this particular edition, but maybe they'd be more interested if they knew it was a black and white reproduction. I know that that's certainly what appealed to me about it. And the Sandman being presented in black and white art in particular is very interesting to me because of the number of artists who worked on this series over its almost 10-year run. Because it's not just one artist's work, you can have almost every issue, or definitely every arc, be a separate experience in looking at it in black and white or comparing it to the original colors. So you can take a closer look to check for yourself whether Sam Keith's art was unfairly maligned. You can see if the horror of the 24 hours in a diner is magnified or muted in this version. Does issue number 8, The Sound of Her Wings, really look that much different, at least in the park scenes, in black and white than it does in the original? This scene and sequence has always felt to me like a really polished indie comic, and the black and white just underlines that for me. But the same may not hold true just later on in the same story, where murkier colors or harder to see shades would be given a much more defined contrast and clarity, in my opinion, in sequences like this. And you can do this for the whole series. How does Charles Vess's artwork look in black and white in A Midsummer Night's Dream? How does P. Craig Russell's art in Ramadan look? How do the sequences in Hell look? How does Brief Lives, The Road Trip look? Can the Kindly Ones truly have the impact that it has without its incredible use of color? And do I notice new things or simply read things differently due to the absence of the color? These are the kind of questions that I find these volumes to be so good at bringing up and maybe answering. So, a solid hardcover, large format, black and white rendition of the Sandman is what you get over here. Before we even get to the annotations, these are the reasons why I think this is a slightly underrated edition. Rather than have yet another of the same thing, I always like editions that bring something new to the table. The production quality in the paper and the covers, the printing quality, the reproduction of this black and white, the sewn binding allows the book to lay flat, even at the earliest or the latest pages, with absolutely no gutter loss. All of these are things that I absolutely cannot fault. But the central draw for many people may actually be the annotations in the Annotated Sandman. Now, annotations, first of all, are not for everyone. Who is this book for? Annotations, which are usually asides and extra information, context, and details that may be tangential or adjacent to the story or the creation of the story, such things are usually for the more scholarly fans or for the fans who are really interested in behind the scenes stuff, and in some cases, literary stuff. And that's, I think, the hodgepodge that keeps this edition from being as great as it can be. The annotations that we get over here by Leslie Klinger are a little arbitrary. With something like The Sandman, which is so steeped in history and mythology and literature and all kinds of lore, spanning as it does centuries and the entire world, there's such a rich opportunity to actually fill these pages with notes, I would have thought. Instead, what we get are sparse compared to what I think of when I think of annotated notations. You do have pages like this with a lot of text in the annotations, but equally you have many blank pages with just a line or two or nothing at all. And some of these annotations would qualify like those DVD extras about how something was made. Some of these annotations are about the historical thing that a reference is being made to. But too many of them are neither meaty enough as far as the production of the story is concerned, nor honestly scholarly enough, which makes me wonder who this book is actually for. People who wanted the annotations for the literary references and the historical references will get some things. It's not as if they're, not there. They will get some things, but not at the level or the concentration, I think, which would warrant buying a $50 edition of something to go through it issue by issue, page by page, and panel by panel. At the same time, people looking for more gossipy things and for mistakes and the kind of blooper reel kind of information that you might have, or even a director's commentary about choices, people looking for those kind of things will be disappointed as well, because yes, you'll get one or two of them, but they seem rather inconsistent. And these large pages, therefore, end up having so much of this in black that it works to highlight the black and white art you're looking at. But if this is going to be a scholar's edition, I think it's best for putting your own notes in, your own scholarly post-its or flags and things like that. That's the most generous way I can look at all these blank spaces. There's also these odd little annotations every now and then, that in this issue, the following page was an ad. I really never understood why that needed to be put in here and annotated. And perhaps worst of all, I found several annotations that just pointed to the wrong panel or had the wrong page number. I was really confused in one of them, where I was trying to find what it was referring to, and then I realized that it was off by 14 pages or something like that. And I found that to happen a couple of times. There were also the occasional typos and spelling mistakes, which really ruins for me the ability to appreciate something as a finished final product. In physical and production terms, I think these are fantastic volumes. I love the fact that they're hardcover. I love the fact that they're sewn and bound so well. And I love the fact that it's the Sandman in black and white. It's not ink, so you'll see the gray tones. So it's really transforming it into a black and white comic. Those are all positives for me. And the annotations that are entertaining and are informative are also part of the pluses. But you really have to seek them out. And the fact that they're so scattered and so arbitrary, they don't seem to have a through line the way that author annotations or footnotes that are meant to inform do. My best experience with annotations and notes has been Alan Moore's notes for From Hell. So how random and superficial so many of the annotations seem to be, and the fact that there aren't many of them, reminds me of that Woody Allen joke about bad food and small portions. I can't bring myself to recommend these as annotated editions for the $50 price they apparently have. Now, I didn't pay $50 for these books. I think I paid between $20 for this used. You can see it's got dirt on the cover and the corners are a little dinged. I paid $20 and $30 for the most expensive one, which was brand new and in shrink wrap. And in that $20 to $30 price range, I mean, for $30, I think these are pretty good books. For $20, I think they're a steal. But for $50, because they're supposed to be first and foremost the annotated Sandman and not the hardcover Sandman or the black and white Sandman, because of how underwhelmed I was by the editorial side of things, this becomes one of those funny situations where I think that if you're passing it up thinking it's just another edition, you are really underrating what it has to offer. But at full list $50 price for the kind of annotations you think that a series like the Sandman deserves, I can't really recommend it. I'm really glad I have the 4 volumes I do, and I'm glad I got them cheap. If you are able to find these on sale or discount and you are a fan of the Sandman, I would definitely encourage you to check them out. If you're looking for some deep scholarship, these aren't really the books for you unless you want to undertake the deep scholarship and make your notes in the margin. I hope you enjoyed this quick look. This has been For the Love of Comics. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you at the next video.